Everyone, welcome back to the Dog Tribe podcast. It is the end of the year, and we've skipped about I don't know. We were supposed to do like a podcast a week, and we stopped doing them in April. What was they doing? Mike Graham and Scott were here about what not to do in PSA, the do's and don'ts. But yeah, so pretty much since that time, summer, busy, IACP conference, we took down the studio, then it sat around in pieces for a while, and we're trying to get caught up on social media and operations and departments and sales. And we came back from conference, and then we had Joe Cinnate here, who I'm hoping to have in the podcast at some point soon to recap the workshops. So we have Jennifer Smith, who's the Pup Start. That is the year. This is the year.
Pup Start trainer. Can you please change your IG
Okay.
to the Pup Start trainer?
This is the year. That defines the year. Okay, that's how worn out we are. But we have Jennifer Smith, who's the Pup Start training director, with us here today. And
Hello.
There you go. This is Jen. And then we have Melanie Nunez, who is our assistant training director for Found for 2025, and pretty much jack of all trades, sales process trainer, big part of the company. And then we have Mariah behind the scenes running the switchboard today. So today in the studio, we're recapping 2024. Super busy year with projects. It's hard to list all of them. I mean, we built out Dog Tribe, the whole training space, and 2025 Academy for Trainers. There was just so much going on that it's hard to list. So we're just recapping the year, getting ready for 2025. One of the last events was Joe Cinnate. That was a great experience. I feel you guys were both here for that, right?
Yeah.
For Joe's workshops. For me, I feel like I've really found somebody that matches my energy. It's kind of an asshole. It's mean. It's mean but nice at the same time. I was texting him earlier today, and I was
nicest direct way.
He's like the nicest direct person. Yeah. So we hit it off. It was like a week of good food, drinking, and a lot of good dog training. So that was really fun. So what did you guys think about it?
I'll go first. I really liked how he communicated really nuanced information on different topics. So the way that, what we were talking about earlier, the way that he delivers the information is very direct, but it's also very kind. And I think he's really good at adjusting the way he breaks down information for each individual. So he could be more direct and more maybe of an asshole to you because he knows that you can take it. Whereas I did not get that impression from him at all because obviously I'm probably would take that very well. But he has a really big heart too, and he really cares about the work that he puts out as well as the stuff that he's delivering. So all in all, I felt really close and connected when we were having conversations, and he's not just doing it as a job. It's a full-on passion and life path.
Yeah, he was actually really impressed because we stuck around a couple of days after the workshop, and we were training for 3 days afterwards. And we got some of the Pup Start puppies out, some of the adolescent dogs, and he was really impressed with the timing and stuff like that. So that was also very nice to see that the puppies are doing well, but also that other people recognize that. What do you think you've added to the program since that event?
Taking time to break down the concepts. It's not just about the behavior, but it's about how the dog feels about the behavior, how the dog gets into the behavior, and how the handler or owner also delivers and is able to get the dog into the behavior. So it's all of that combined into one. If everything lines up as it should, it's a you can see the connection right off the bat. You can just see it's simpatico.
Right. What did you say? What was that word?
Simpatico.
What does that mean? That's a good word.
It's yeah,
Like copacetic.
Copacetic.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Both cool words.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's nice.
I got some cool words.
Yeah, there you go. But no, that's very good to hear. And Mel, I just remembered you're famous now. You and Gonzo are famous.
Is that real? Yeah.
Yeah. Your dog went viral after he tried to bite Joe, and they caught it on all sorts of slow-mo and
He
angles.
sure
and
did.
the
Everyone's
whole thing.
face in the background.
Everybody's face in the background. What was your experience like during the workshop?
I think for me, the biggest thing I took is you see all this competition obedience, all the flashy stuff, and you think fast, right? Fast dogs, fast movements, all that stuff. And especially for me, working with pet dogs so much and trying to get into that world with dogs that aren't driving, I find it hard for myself to slow down, and I'm doing all these fast things with dogs that have a lot of twitch that really should not be doing fast behaviors. I mean, we could tell a lot with all of Gonzo's leaking, the fact that he can't, like even Joe was saying that like when I come into heel, like he's already side-eyeing, he's already leaning, he's already preparing for me to do a certain routine. So just realizing how much impact I put in him by just like doing things too repetitively and doing things too quickly.
Yeah. And Jess was also here.
Jess trains dogs.
I know that's her Instagram, Jess Trains Dogs. She was amazing. She was great.
That was a dream come true. I followed her for years.
Yeah. So Jess, if you're listening to this, you get some real fans here.
Yep.
But no, that was really cool. I think to some degree, I was a little overwhelmed because I'm not a very patient person. I'm like patient to the degree that I need to be patient, but I'm not like innately patient. Like it's not part of my personality, right? I've learned the hard way, which is be patient to accomplish certain things. But then if patience didn't have to be part of the criteria, then it would just be like I wouldn't be patient. But yeah, there was a lot of like thin slicing and breaking down of behaviors, right?
So minuscule.
So much. And it made me feel like my dog didn't do anything. I was like, oh my God, like Lobo's got a different down for this and a different down for that. They were really impressed with Brittany. At some point, we'll be like, I'll do the podcast with you. But they were really impressed with Brittany and overall like the technicality, because I feel like they're all kind of like the same in my mind. Yeah. They'll sit there and they'll split one behavior into 3 pieces, and then those 3 behaviors or these 3 pieces into 3 different behaviors. So I think that was really interesting, which I feel like is very helpful in overall like dog train, like pet dog training too, because it's not just sports stuff. It's just like, especially like the puppies, that's something that was very interesting to me, is that when you're first laying out the roadmap for a puppy in the puppy's brain, you really are deciding how they're going to turn out, right? Because if you give them if they have a blank slate and you teach them 3 options or those 3 pathways, that's what they're limited to as you start building behaviors on top of those behaviors, right? It's almost like you're giving them 2 roads to get to the same place. And so as they progress through their lives, even if there's a 4th or 5th road available, they're only going to rely on those 3, right? So I thought that was really, really interesting. But overall, I think it was a great workshop. And right before that, we had the IACP conference. So it's just been a kind of a whirlwind. And I'm hoping 2025 we could be a little more home base. I'm hoping to have Joe out here for some team training with the training department. So I know we had talked about that, but I was like, we got to get the training department.
Yeah, together.
No, don't. That's not what I mean, Mariah. She's over. See, this is why I didn't do the podcast with you guys around before that. No, I mean, it's a technicality. You got to be real technical. But anyways, he wants to come out here like in March or something like that, so we can hang out again, train again, and be part of the podcast, and maybe find a way to work together in terms of schools and other things like that here in the Midwest. I also wanted to introduce you guys to the podcast. Obviously, the training department is going to be taking different roles in this, because as we head through the year, I just want more involvement from everyone, right? But also, I think that that's like the way we promote growth. They learn about things. We've been a little slow in putting out social media because I know there's a lot to it, right? But I feel like we've caught up enough on things where we can just start pumping things out, like getting back on the podcast and stuff like that. So I wanted to know more about your guys' experiences in your roles, what you learned in 2024, reflect a little bit. It's good information for all of us in terms of individual experiences and how to make a better 2025.
Oh, well, thank you, Fabian. This year, it's obviously, it's been a big change. Running Pupstart Classic and Plus is an excellent opportunity, but a huge stretch for me to put myself in that position to be able to give people directives that are going to either make or break the program, right? So building a team dynamic, making sure that I know what needs to get done, and then communicate that effectively, and making sure that everybody's on the same page. So that's been a definite learning curve for me, but I'm up for the challenge, and I continually try to push myself, but definitely being very clear with the expectations, and also pushing the team a little bit more, I think is going to be in 2025.
And I was going to say, Mariah's on the Pupstart, the lead for the Pupstart Classic program. But let me preface with, you were in Pupstart Classic, and then you were in the training department, and now you're coming back to run the entire Pupstart program.
Yep.
So how was those experiences? Because when I look at you guys reflect, and for those of you guys listening, Pupstart is like our basically puppy raising program, and here in Chicago, we literally take dogs from 8 weeks all the way till 2 years of age, and they become big parts of our community. And we're outlining their curriculum, start to finish. We're teaching behaviors from start. We have a pretty in-depth program here. And I just want to add, like, this shit is hard. Like,
Yes.
you may not know, like, maybe you found out that it's hard,
Yep.
but I think that the overall concept of being a good dog trainer, and specifically the standard and the level of technicality we expect here, is quite high. I mean, it's not something simple. So hearing you guys say it was like, we need improvement, well, like, I need improvement. Like, everyone does. I think that's kind of what makes the programs unique. But tell me about your experience originally in Classic training office, and then kind of going back now in the director role
Yep.
for the program.
So when I started Classic, I was really excited. I was going to be playing with puppies all day. Like, that was the mindset going in, is this is going to be a lot of fun. And very quickly you start to see what the puppies are capable of, and that you're teaching good and bad habits if you're not paying attention. And as I've moved from Classic to training department and then back to Pup Start, running both programs, it has gotten harder and harder, but in a good way, because each time that I'm moving and I'm more of that training door is opening, I'm seeing all the little nuanced details that really kind of tie in to any behavior that you do. So it's not just, can the dog sit if you tell it to? How does it sit? Like, how do you make the dog have fun, or how do you build a maybe not so food energetic dog into a dog that's going to do stuff for food? Relationship building. Like, how do you pull out all of those good traits out of your dog in a way that's the most positive way possible? And then properly using equipment. That's huge. Yeah, like trying to explain it to other apprentices, junior trainers, and clients is like 3 different skill sets. And it's a fun challenge, but it's certainly difficult because a lot of the owners and clients don't need as much information as the trainers do. And then how much is too much? And then where's that line of really true understanding?
Right. And you've been at this for what, going on 3 years, or over 3 years?
Over
now?
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, over 3 years. And you were initially a career change, right?
Yes.
Yes. So I find that really interesting.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot of programs out there that you can do for 6 months and then get like a master dog trainer certificate. And I think that's wild. I mean, we're into like team training. We're like 12 weeks into team training. So what is that? 3 months?
Yeah.
3 months, right? Yeah, we're
No, 4. No, 3.
not 3. Yeah.
3.
Oh, 1, 2.
3, 12. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going on like three full months, maybe 4 months into team training. And that is training board and trained dogs. That is training like a lot of different skills every single day with dozens of dogs. And there's always so much to learn, right? So I find it really interesting that people can expect to be master dog trainers within a couple of months. And I've always had like a big problem with that. Like I feel like when someone calls themselves a master dog trainer, it's a good sign that they're not.
What does that even mean?
I don't know what it means.
What is the
You know what I'm
criteria
saying?
for that?
I don't really know what it means. I don't like the word master to begin with. Like,
Master
because I
dog.
feel like it's like a fleeting ideal. Like you're a master of something. That means there's nothing more to learn. Or maybe, I mean, I know in different disciplines, it just means that you've learned to learn and that there will always be more learning. Right? But I don't think that's the case in dog training. I feel like if you give someone a master in dog training, they're like, I've learned all there is to learn, right? But I want to get your experience, because it's, as we get students into the school, like you can probably identify more with challenges, struggles, like what are they struggling to learn and what are they not? So what do you think you've struggled with in terms of like directly working with the dogs when you first started going and kind of where you're at now?
That's a good question. So I would say the thing that really kind of sparked my interest in even the concept of teaching dogs something was my own dogs. My French Bulldog was my problem child, is what I would describe him back then. He had a drive that I didn't know how to work with and didn't even know was a thing, to be honest with you. I just saw him try to chase children. He likes to bite kids. And you think, oh my God, I have this bad dog. And then the more that you start to look into it, you start to find out that he's not a bad dog. He has an untapped drive that is trying to be fulfilled. So in order to help him see that that's not an acceptable, obviously I don't condone biting kids, but in order to show him that that's not acceptable, you have to teach him first what is acceptable. How do I tap into that prey drive in a healthy way with toy play? And how do I start to build from there? How do I teach him behaviors? How do I teach him to learn? How do I teach him to like to learn? Which is something really interesting that I think continually pursues and pushes me, because that's the drive. That's the ignition for me, is why is this dog doing this? And how do I make it better? And seeing them learn and interact with one another. So that's my drive with every dog. And then being able to communicate that with all the owners and even inspire apprentices too, which is also really challenging, because I think a lot of people don't realize how difficult it is until they're in it, and then they don't really want to keep learning and pushing.
And I think that what I've picked up on is, I mean, at least for decoying, French ring taught me this, right? When I started doing some ring decoying, and I was last year with Herv Mavanga, and we're doing the whole workshop and doing ring stuff, we realized that you really have no chance of skeeving dogs unless you have some practice moving your feet. You can't be thinking about which leg you're using, which one you're doing. You kind of instinctually have to know what to do and how to avoid dogs coming at you at top speed or whatever. And if you don't have those attributes, it's really hard to decoy. It's really hard to do things properly. But I almost feel the same as the training. It's specifically, it's such a mechanical thing that you almost have to be at that stage of ability in order to go from handling to training, because they're two very different things. I think this now, because everything we do with our staff is a process. We are taking people that are interested in learning about dogs and training dogs, and they're going through an entry level position, and they're doing the Tech 1 stuff, Tech 2 stuff, learning to handle dogs, learning to love and care for dogs, right? And then eventually they get the chance to go from handling to training. And that right there is a giant mental shift. I have to get this dog out and make progress with it and teach it things and preserve its behavior that I work on while it's away from me. And I feel that's the mindset that you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's going from handling to training.
To no accountability of any training progress as being a handler, right? You're not responsible for the dog's leash walking, duration, and behaviors. But when you're a trainer, you are responsible for that. And it is your fault if this dog can't do something or is doing it wrong. You had a part in that.
Right.
So if you want to fix it, that's great. You have to learn and you have to push to fix it, to make it better. But if that doesn't bother you, then I don't think you really should be a trainer if those little details aren't something that stand out, because you don't have what it takes to actually break down what's happening and actually pay attention to what you're seeing. You're just going through the motions.
Right. And Mel, you have a very different view of these things, because you come to the team with a ton of experience. Obviously, we worked together with your dogs before all of this. You're already experienced. You're 10 years into this whole industry, and so you've worked for different companies. What is your perspective on what we do here, specifically the apprentice progression or struggles that people may have?
It's always one or the other, right? So the experiences that I've been, it's people who are super, super technical, but the love and care and compassion that you need to work with animals is missing. Or you have the people that are so in tune and love and care for animals, but they're missing technical skills. And it's very hard to come around people that have both, and have both very evenly and very strongly, and know how to bounce back and forth and how to utilize both when necessary. And I think it's really cool seeing people who come here and they learn how to love and care for animals, and then it's almost when they get to that point where you're okay, cool, you have proven that you care about cleaning this dog's eye boogers. It seems so little.
Oh yeah, no, I was talking about that.
Yeah, it seems so little, but things like that where you genuinely care about the dog's well-being and how they're feeling and any given day and what their day's like, and then you transform that right away. They get to this point, and then you start teaching them technical skills, and it really blossoms people into a different level of trainers that I've not really seen a whole lot of.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the training team now. I think some of them are a little too impressed with themselves, but that's just my opinion. But I think watching them over years' time And I remember because, now with social media, you get like what were you doing 3 years ago? And you see the apprentices 3 years ago teaching pedestals. Mariah in room 3 teaching a pedestal to a dog with at that time. It's really, really cool because everybody's been part of that, right? They see all of that. I mean, you have Hannah, Jen, Mariah, Anna. I think Kyle was part of that generation. No, but you see all of them. And then Rob ended up moving to Michigan, which I think it's a big mistake, Michigan, Rob. But all in all, I think it's really neat to see all of that because they are very unique. And it's almost like they bring the care of taking care of the animals into the training, which is, in my mind, like one of the first I've been around, but it's like very rare when you do see that, when you see the care for the animals outside of like just training them. Like you see them for they're someone else's kid, really, right? And you're taking care of them and you're developing their behaviors. But yeah, no, so that's a good insight. Mel, what is your overall experience? Because now you've done a lot of, you've helped me with sales process and like optimizing it to simplify it because we're always kind of evolving it. So we took on reaching out to clients and stuff like that. So you've kind of had a wild year, right? But I feel like we've got to, with you coming to the office and doing remote work and all that kind of stuff and now taking the role. So I've had a great appreciation for the work that you do in terms of the reliability, but also the quality. Overall, what's been your experience this year in your role?
It's been very different than what I'm accustomed to because coming from a background where it was very like work heavy. So doing a ton of classes. I did classes almost like 4 or 5 nights a week, doing a lot of running large groups at daycare and just like that manual physical labor and like honing my own personal touch of how I like to interact with dogs to now actually maturing to a point where I'm actually seeing things from like the business end, because you get to a certain point where it's okay, you're comfortable with your craft and where it is, and obviously there's always room to learn, but there's a certain point where you can't really grow unless you learn like the sales and the business and all the client relation type things, the follow-ups and like all the little moving pieces and the nitty-gritty parts that are typically behind the scenes and like the managerial roles. And that's all been relatively new for me. I've done like supervisor type stuff, so like some of it's familiar but not in this industry.
Right. It's like those critical roles where when I first got recruited to the IACP, a friend of mine reached out. She actually worked here a long time ago, Laura. I'm sure you guys maybe seen the videos from like maybe 8-10 years ago. I don't even know if then. She reached out, it's like, hey Fabian, we would like to have someone like you on the board. And so I was like, what do you mean? I'm just this person in Chicago. Like, I don't have anything to offer. Because the ICP is like, does legislative work and makes decisions, stuff like that. And it was that moment where, I'm responsible for part of the responsibility of making sure this kind of stuff happens. Like, I don't know if I want that, right? But it's the same thing. It's like, we're now in roles where like our decisions make an impact now in long term, like in terms of the outcome of departments, dogs, people, progress, company success. What do you think are some major takeaways you've gotten from this, or like eye-opening moments? I feel like I have them all the time, but I'm curious to see what you guys have.
I think for me, I didn't realize how much I enjoy coaching people. Like, I didn't think that was necessarily, not that I didn't like it, but it never really seemed something that's, I definitely want to do this. And like, especially the last couple of weeks, like when some of the guys have come up to me and been like, hey, can I get your eyes on this? I just, want some advice. Like, I realized that like, I always knew I liked group classes, but I never put 2 and 2 together that like, I would actually like coaching other trainers to be the best of their ability. And I've learned that kind of like being people's cheerleader and like, when they're having a hard time, just kind of being there to be like, hey, you got this. Like, you can do this. Just take a deep breath. Like that. I get a lot of fulfillment out of that I never knew that I really would find fulfillment in.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I feel like the people thing is a whole nother layer to thing. This is a people thing. This is not a dog thing. It's like truly a people thing in terms of coaching. And I discovered that it's one of these roles that you have to give every single day, right? Like today we're going to go do bite night, give to those dogs. So you are giving all the energy, and then you wake up tomorrow, we have classes tomorrow morning. And so you have to be a self-replenishing person when it comes to coaching people. And honestly, being a trainer, because we talk a lot about like trainer burnout, I feel like. Not necessarily here, but it's like a common thing in the industry is like trainer burnout. What it's just like, it's a burnout whenever we feel like we're not really making an impact on the clients and the dogs. Like that's where you get burnout, is where you don't feel like you're succeeding at what you're doing. Jen, what were some like eye-opening moments for you this year?
Gosh, there was always a part that was in the back of my mind, can I really do this? Can I really handle like the stress and the pressure of just having the Pup Start program on my shoulders? Do I have what it takes, and can I even teach people how to train dogs, or teach trainers how to train dogs? Because there's more to dog training than training dogs.
Yeah,
There's a lot more.
I don't even know how to describe it. I was telling Anna earlier today, I'm like, this big flex, like in 3-4 years, I'm going to be like 20 years in this field. And I think it's scary to me how much there is actually to learn in this field about dogs and then people coaching. And then just one of the conversations that I had when we were going coaching for evaluations and communicating with our clients is, don't let your perspective decide things for the owners.
Yes.
Because when we put our ideals on a dog, then we basically shrink the options that are actually available for the owner, meaning that you're essentially not representing situations as they are, right? But in reality, it's like, I'm always very careful of that because I have no idea how I'm going to interpret things, right? Back what you were saying is that there's so much to learn about all of this stuff. I actually listened to a podcast where Michael Ellis did an interview, and I think he said, I've learned more about dog training, teaching people. Yep. Just like anything else, it just takes time and repetition in order to do it well, right? And it's the people that aren't repetitive enough or don't understand the learning process that sometimes don't succeed in the roles, because everything's bound to succeed if you try enough things, right? That's just the game. It's more or less about having enough time to do enough of those things to then figure it out. But no, I get what you're saying. I feel like that every 30 days. Seeing how huge this facility has gotten, I'm like, fuck. You look at it and you're like this whole block of Chicago, and I'm like, oh no!
When
it's
you
like,
lose something and you have to walk around for 5 miles.
Well, yeah,
no idea where
outside of that,
Or you forget something, you're like, oh, God damn it.
yeah, like where did it go? You got to look for your coffee in the morning. Who was I talking to this morning? Because where is it in this
Check
building?
the cameras.
You got to go to Pup Start and you can get dog training and all these different things, which is cool, but it's also like a scary. But it's the scary part. If you weren't concerned about it, I think that then you would be missing the ingredients to do well at it, right? And I think that's what I think about all the time. It's just like your natural need to survive and thrive and make sure these things are successful is the reason they are successful, is the reason that gives you the forecasting. Hey, maybe this isn't going to work, which is why we need to change things ahead of time. We're always forecasting. What does a month look like? Who is doing what? What does scheduling look like? And now we're getting to a rhythm where for the first time in ever, we sat down in Dog Tribe with a projector and outlining teams. This is the things they're doing coaching kind of like at the team level, which is something very unique. And then on top of that, you get the dog stuff that you got to learn. So yeah, I wouldn't stress so much about that. Mariah, since you're here, what are some eye-opening moments this year? You've been training for a while now, right? It's kind of interesting that you guys even say these things, because it's like, well, you've been around for dogs for 4 years, and you guys have trained probably over 1,000 dogs in that, just in the last couple of years. So it's interesting that you put it that way, that you're kind of new, which is you're not really that new. I think you're just stuck in the same scenery, which is different. But so what are some goals for 25? What are some things training related or career related that you guys are looking forward to?
Personally, I've kind of taken not an intentional hiatus, but just haven't really given myself the time to do as many workshops and seminars and be as involved as I was in the past. So I'm really looking forward to all the different things that are coming up this year and opening myself up a little bit more to do those things that I enjoy again.
Yeah. We have Cameron Ford coming in March. He'll be here for a whole week.
Super excited for that.
Yeah, Cameron Ford. He's got a little bit when you look at his resume, he's a bit of a superhero. Literally has done all these things. But anyway, Jen, what about you?
I'm really excited for you to learn to work with puppies. Really excited. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are saying crazy things.
What do you mean?
Well, the people, everyone listening to the podcast, it's like, work with puppies. That's the first thing. There's the first. It's like when you see Pupstart, you're like, this is.
It's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's like puppy training.
It's boarding school.
Yeah, it's like
puppy private school.
Yeah, it's like puppy private school, and we got to do a really nice job, and they got to make sure they know their markers and they are conditioned and they learn and stuff like that. So it's just really, really good dog training. So hearing you guys say, learn how to train puppies, most people assume that, I have to this is how I learned to train dogs, is I train puppies. Is no, man. When people learn on puppies, that's where the puppies are getting the least capable people, where in reality they should have the most capable all the time, right? Those are the people that are putting foundation on dogs, and unfortunately the industry is not laid out that way, but we're dog training snobs, so I completely understand that.
Well, the puppy's life is pretty short, so if you're not planning, like as a new owner, if you're not planning or thinking of training, you kind of miss that boat. And then by the time the dog's 6 months, usually exhibiting issues because it doesn't have any sort of foundation to fall on.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, maybe I should start training.
Right.
When we talked earlier about, breaking things down and, being very technical, and I think that's the part that, like, people don't realize with puppies is, like, you have to be looking ahead weeks, months, and seeing what the things you're doing with this puppy now are going to affect it as it's a teenager, as an adult. And that's hard to, like, you're like trying to see into the future at the same time, but being in the moment with the dog.
And trying to then coach people to see and be in the moment.
Yeah. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But all right, we're going to wrap up the podcast. We're going to keep it short. I feel like there's easily 3-4 more other conversations. I want to have you back in the studio at some point I know you're on vacation next week, but maybe the following week or something like that. Pup Start training program, like for puppy owners and for puppy trainers, because I think that's a huge part. We're planning on running a curriculum specifically for Dog Tribe that is like the Pup Start program. So like being able to come in, shadow the entire puppy program, and doing either like up to 3 weeks of just puppy stuff, because there is easily, I mean, first of all, there's 2 years worth of puppy stuff you can do it.
I was going to say 3 weeks. That's not enough.
3 weeks. It's like, oh my God, it's not enough. But there's so much to absorb when it comes to the puppy stuff. And I think that when you do that and then pair it with trainer programs at the training department, you can bring the whole picture together. Like you're dealing with dogs that have behavioral, I don't say behavioral problems, they're just confused about behavior. Really, that's what it is. And then you can then combine them and have a pretty balanced experience. So I'm really excited about that. And I want to talk about Pup Start. Pup Start is stuff for like puppy owners. What are the things that we recommend for them, and why, not only why the program is valuable, but overall, I feel like the overall pet industry is heading in the direction of like Pup Start type concepts. I'm really excited to have Mel, you on board, and I'm excited to get everyone started. So I'm just kind of waiting for the year to end, to be honest with you, so we can kick off some stuff and announce the schools and continue improving the team. So it's gonna be a really fun year. So I'm excited about that. But
what are you excited for?
What am I excited about?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a good one. So it sounds kind of simple, but I'm just excited to train dogs. Like I'm excited to train because, man, my entire like career has been like putting out fires and training dogs, or building a company and training dogs. And so I've never really gotten the experience of just training. The last 8 years has been construction every single year. So last time I checked in, I was like 27. Yeah, I was like 27, 26, 27. And I was like, cool, we're starting to like work in the facility. And then it never stopped. I wasn't even excited when Dog Tried. Like when they put up the decals and the flooring, and we're like, cool, this
Meanwhile,
is great.
we're all over here. Oh my God.
And my guy's so excited. Dude, I didn't even care when Dog Tried was finished built. I was just like, I forgot that we did it this year. I feel like it's been around forever. I didn't get a chance to really celebrate. And I feel like we do so many projects. Like we have the Mojo stuff we haven't even gotten to. That's exciting. That's exciting. It's just fun stuff that we like to do because we're dog people. We're like, oh, print shirts and make equipment and
do our own stuff.
Do our own stuff, right? It's fun. I'm just excited to just not have to do any of that and just train and build a team and have a little, it's going to sound crazy, have a little bit of balance. Wow. Yeah, have a little balance in my life. It's different. Like flying somewhere, being somewhere, driving somewhere, competing with your dog, making sure construction is on budget, making sure the team's doing well, making sure it's just so much. And I think I've been like corrected by life. It's been great from everyone's perspective, but this shit's hard. It's hard work. It's like 2 a.m. cranking out some like work that I just needed to do at the office. Or it's, when we were building websites or when we're doing this kind of stuff. It's been like super late work. And I'm not necessarily tired of it. I just realized that there's better ways to live, right? And so we did that one time where we're in a really good spot. And so I'm just excited to train dogs, coach people. There's a whole area to just expand on in terms of coaching people. I'm excited to learn about the people that are going to be attending the school. Like I'm excited to learn about them because everybody's got something to offer. Like, wait, you understand this that way? That's so interesting that that's your perspective, right? Just like Michael said this, like you learn a lot about people just coaching them, and you learn more about teaching people by the more you teach. So I'm really excited about that. I'm also a little afraid of that, right? Because I'm very proud of the company, and then I'm very proud of the team. So as you bring in people that are outside of the team to be students, we have to make sure they're the type of students that we want, right? So this is not like a program that's gonna be like, I want to sign up, I'm gonna sign up. We want people to apply in the process, and we want people to be vetted and be brought into the team and say, cool, you're like the right person that we want to build on. And you're the right person that we want to continue training and expand your skills, because it's so special to us. Also the dogs, the quality of the work, who they're around, how safe they are. There's a lot to do. And when we are hiring people, we have a pretty lengthy vetting process that then turns into a pretty lengthy onboarding process, and we're always vetting it. So at this point, we have to be really good at it. But all in all, I'm just excited about that for consistency, but really just investing in the team and being home like at Found or like in Chicago, like doing a Chicago thing and growing with you guys and growing with the company. That's what I'm really excited about. I love PSA, and I will do PSA in the region, but it's a whole nother thing. And Bart told me this, Bart Ballon, where you can either be a coach, a competitor, or a decoy. Like you can't do all of them, right? It's so hard. I mean, like you're coaching and decoying and then competing and running a company and trying to have a marriage and then trying to, like, there's so many other things that are like part of it. So you just can't do all of them. So I'm excited to be a coach and be here for the company and then show a level in the twos and continue with that. But yeah, I'm pretty simple. Yeah. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. But anyway, guys, thanks for listening. And you can be on the lookout for a lot more episodes since our studio's set back up and we can just sit up there and crank out a couple podcasts. I know I got a couple of our friends in California that'll be on the podcast. I'm going to get Jordan Horak, who owns Cato Board out here. He wanted to do a podcast. So get him out there. Oscar Mora, Joe Cinnate, Cameron Ford, he's getting when he's here. So we got a lot of people that we'll talk to. I really want to focus the podcast this coming year. What we do here Found, the behavior cases, specific cases. What are the things that we do to be successful with the dogs and be successful with the programs? Because Chicago is a beast of a market in terms of the type of clients you can have here, but also the type of dogs that tend to evolve and develop behavior because of where they live, that then makes them very unique situations, right?
Very insane.
And so we'll focus the podcast on those specific things and sharing those experiences. So again, everyone, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
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 See, that's that hard.